Greetings and welcome to my channel. Today you're going to learn that Vlad Dracula was a type and shadow of the Apostle Paul, the self-proclaimed Apostle Paul. I teach type and shadow. This is how I understand the Bible, and this is how you can understand the Bible. God teaches through types and shadows. Now, Vlad Dracula, he was a defender of Christianity, okay? He is the Christian's hero, okay? He is popular for being the impaler. He impaled 20,000 Turks or Muslims. He was one of the most respected rulers of Wallachia. He also was credited for having kept the Muslim forces from the Ottoman Empire from dominating Europe. That is to say, to stop Islam from dominating Christianity, okay? Now, you're going to look at these clips I have from the Ottoman Empire. I suggest that you watch that movie. And I will be stopping and I will be showing you scene by scene these types and shadows, and I will be bringing out scriptures. Okay, let's go. The cup represents communion, and Paul is responsible for the teachings on communion. The only other narratives we have comes from the gospel writers. And we got the letters of Paul first before we got the Gospels. And we believe that those letters from the Gospel were all shaped and framed by the letters coming from Paul. Also, note that Benjamin had the cup in his sack, okay? You're going to be blessed if you study the Bible. You'll know that Paul is the founder of the Christian church, okay? And Benjamin is the enemy, okay? Judah's hand shall be in the neck of his enemies. Let's keep going. His lovely wife is the church. Note, only Paul of all the apostles makes the connection. The church is the bride of Christ, in which he is the husband. Just like the tribe of Benjamin, they took a concubine, which represents the church, and they abused her all the night long. But when the day springs, this church will be free from the teachings coming from the house of David, which is Islam. So we know that this wife represents the church because the Apostle Paul has his father's wife, so to say, because he has his father's church. It is not Jesus' church. It is God's church. And the Apostle Paul, he stole it. Now let's keep going. What do we have here? We have food. Who gave us the teachings that we can eat food sacrificed to idols as long as we do not offend our brothers? It is once again your boy, the Apostle Paul. Okay, Jesus told us that he has something against us. Okay, speaking of that church, preferably in the book of Revelation chapter 2, that they were eating food sacrificed to idols. All right. They made an agreement in the book of Acts chapter 15 not to eat food sacrificed to idols. But once again, the Apostle Paul told us it's lawful because he is apparently the Shiloh of the New Testament. Let's keep going. Who is the relationship killer of the New Testament? Jeremiah told us that we could have wives and build houses in the land of our captivity. God tells us to multiply and replenish and fill up the earth. But the Apostle Paul said it's best for the women, for the virgins, to remain single. Just like him, okay? He is the one who limited wives, okay? When God authorized multiple wives, the Apostle Paul comes along and he says it's not lawful for a man to have more than one wife, okay? Now let's keep going. Galatians 3:1. O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you, that you should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ hath been evidently set forth, crucified among you? The Apostle Paul was trying to make people believe that Jesus was crucified, even when they had doubts, even when they did not believe. You will see that he is the cause that the whole world is swept away in his strong delusion, in his own words. Let's keep going. If you thoroughly study the Bible and the Apostle Paul's teachings, he is in direct opposition to the teachings of Islam. Him saying that he won't bow is also going into him not wanting to submit to Mehmet II, which is the Turkish name for Muhammad, but ultimately he is against the nation of Islam. Despite his size, because he's only a man. He is only a man, and yet he has used Jesus as an armor bearer. He used Jesus as a shield. And the Bible speaks about Benjamin's mess being 5 times over. And what I have to tell you is that the Apostle Paul's mess, what he has done, is the hugest mess known to mankind. All right. The wolf in sheep clothing, here he is right here. Let's keep going. But I will have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Now, this is the Apostle Paul's teachings. And this is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, 3 through 4. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonors his head. So, look how exact this type and shadow is of Vlad Dracula in the Apostle Paul, because the Apostle Paul is the only teacher that taught us of a man covering his head is dishonoring Christ. Okay, this is right on. This is spot on. That teaching is false. That all came from the Apostle Paul. Let's keep going. Paul is the Caesar Borgias of the Christian church. He is the Jesus of the New Testament. Now you wonder why all these portraits of him has been circulating, because God has been trying to open up your eyes. Okay, that Jesus of the tribe of Judah is not the Jesus of the church. The Apostle Paul is the Jesus of the church. Now you can't fight against God. Your hands is too short. This is God giving me this guidance. Let's keep going on. Now you can search YouTube and you can look around and you'll see that nobody is bringing this out, that Paul has been killing the church with the cross using a tent peg. Paul was a jailer. Before he joined the church, he was binding all that called upon the name. Okay, he was a tent maker by trade, just like Jael. Okay, she killed Sisera with a tent peg in a tent, and she drove it through his temples. Now, Paul has been killing the churches. He's been killing the temples using a tent peg. Now, this is predominantly right now speaking of how God is angered at Christians taking Muslims and forcing Christianity on them. This is exactly what this is going into. And like I said, you can search, you can go around and you can look. Ain't nobody bringing this out, okay? The Apostle Paul has been killing the church with the cross, and this is seen right here in this movie, okay? This is the Ottoman Empire. He's killing the church with the cross, and he's converting even Muslims today. But let me tell you something. The house of Saul is getting weaker. I don't care how many Arabics confess Jesus Christ as Lord. The church is still losing. The house of Saul is getting smaller every day. And the house of David, which is the house of Islam, is growing stronger and stronger by the day. Now, the house of David and the house of Saul are fighting right now. Okay, the house of Saul is Christianity. The house of David is Islam. Okay, these two religions have been fighting for a while. Okay, they've been fighting and there's been victories on both sides. There's been casualties on both sides. This is a picture of two religions fighting. Now, you notice the wolf on the screen. I did not put that there. And you notice what Mehmet II, the conqueror, said. He literally said, I kept the wolves off your doors for years. You're going to see that the Apostle Paul is the wolf in sheep clothing. Now we're going to see who is the real prophet. We're going to see who is the false prophet. Okay. I got a scripture. It's going to be 2 Samuel 3:6. And it came to pass while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner made himself strong for the house of David. You see all these Christian churches everywhere. You got a lot of these people following in the footsteps of Paul. Paul is responsible for the popes. He's responsible for the nuns. And if you notice what he just said, he's talking about wives right now. Okay, he lying about wives. I got you. Here you have your boy Vlad Dracula lying about wives, just like he was lying about wives in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Okay, after we go through the history, because I want you to see why he is mad, we're going to connect him with the prison. Okay, and we'll come back to finding out who actually won this battle. That's going to take place in 1477. Okay, not right now, but we're going to come back to this and we're going to see who is the real prophet. Okay, the house of David or the house of Saul. Let's keep going. Now we want to do a little history into Vlad Dracula's madness. And I told you I was going to connect him with prison. All right, so this is Paul's connection with prison. There were rumors circulating that Vlad II, that is Vlad's father, was in alliance with the Hungarians. So Mehmet, and we're speaking of Mehmet's father, okay, took his two sons hostage. This Vlad and his brother Radu were held captive. This is why Vlad Dracula hated Mehmet the second and the Ottoman Empire, because he always claimed of being his prisoner. Now, I have plenty scriptures from Ephesians chapter 3 all the way through the book of Acts, where the Apostle Paul is constantly saying he's a prisoner of Jesus. He's a prisoner of the Lord. He speaks of his fellow prisoners, and a lot of y'all right now, y'all are his fellow prisoners, okay? Because y'all believe that garbage he speak. Y'all believe that garbage he teach, okay? So now we want to keep going so you can see the history of Mehmet II. Now to my left, we have a man by the name of Mehmet. It is Turkish for Mohammed. He has done something no man has ever done. He has conquered the Roman Empire, okay? He has done something no man has ever done, and it was according to the prophecy of the prophet Mohammed, peace and blessings be upon him. All right. Now, to my right, we have a man who have left the truth of Islam to start an organized Christian church because he has the same beliefs as the Christian church. They have the same core beliefs. All right. What he teach is in direct opposition to the nation of Islam. He speaks bad against Edom. Okay. But he was a detective. He was working with Edom. He has not conquered no nations. He is not riding the horse honorably. I have to keep it real. Keep your feelings in your pocket. I love my people, but I love the truth. Now let's keep going. Now we're going to do a quick recap on everything we went over. We went over how Paul is responsible for communion, Jesus being God, his revelation on eating food sacrificed to idols, his laws on marriage, and one of the most damnable, that Jesus was crucified. Okay. In John 13:26, Jesus answered, "He it is to whom I shall give a sup when I have dipped it." And when he had dipped the sup, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. Now, history teaches us that Vlad Dracula would have breakfast, at least on one instance for sure, with the impaled victims in front of him, and he would dip his morsel of food inside of the victim's blood and eat his meal gladly. Okay, so that is going into the false teachings, because we know that bread represents the word of God. Okay, and he gave us the bloody religion. Okay, also we established the fact that there's been war between Christianity and Islam for centuries. It's been a long war, and it's still ongoing. We made the connection of Paul being a prisoner of Jesus Christ, and how Vlad Dracula hated Mehmet II because he felt like he was his prisoner, even though the man took care of his brothers. Okay, he was biting the hand that fed him, just like the Apostle Paul. Okay, think about it. He wants you to chew Jesus' bread as a figure of his body. Come on now. Now we going over how the war is going long, and now we're going to find out who is the real prophet. Who is the real prophet? Also, keep note that the women in Islam are not prisoners. Okay, the women in Islam could speak. They can have a platform. They can share their faith. Unlike Paul dominating the woman, telling the woman they can't speak, they can't say nothing in the church, all these old damnable heresies. The women of Islam are more like mother figures. Okay, they dress better. Okay, they are more discreet. Okay, the nation of Islam's women is on a higher standard than most women. You just got to keep it real. Okay, let's just keep it real. Now let's just keep watching. 2 Samuel chapter 3 and 1. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But the house of David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. Now we finna see who is the real prophet. Now you got to keep in mind, the prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad, already said that someone was going to conquer Constantinople. And Mehmet II is walking in that prophecy. Okay, Mehmet II told Dracula, okay, that he was going to kill him. But Dracula said he was going to kill Mehmet II. So let's see who has real prophecies, because I'm so sick and tired of Israelite camps saying that Quran has no prophecy, Islam has no prophecy. No, we have real prophecy. Okay? We have real prophecy. And now we're going to see what is the end of the house of Saul. Because the house of Saul is getting weaker, especially after we take down the Apostle Paul. Once we destroy the teachings from the Apostle Paul, all the nations are going to come in to the house of David. Now let's get that. Now, who got the prophecy? The house of David has the prophecy. The scriptures say in Genesis 49:10 that the scepter shall be passed from Judah unto Shiloh. Now look at him. Right next to the stone that the builders rejected. Saul was beheaded, King Saul. Ishbosheth was beheaded. Goliath was beheaded. All these are types of Paul. Now history even tells us that the Apostle Paul was beheaded, okay? That is the tradition of the Catholic Church, is that the Apostle Paul was beheaded. Let me tell you something. The house of Saul is no match for the house of David. And there you have the type and shadow. History simply repeats itself.